Hello, I am Joseph Eliama Janet, Assistant Professor in the Department of English in Women's Christian College, Chennai. The title of my lecture is The Narrative Structure in Arundathi Roy's The God of Small Things. For readers in India and outside, Arundathi Roy is not an unknown writer. In fact, she gained a lot of popularity through the publication of her first novel, The God of Small Things. Apart from being a literary writer, Arundhati Roy is also known for her political and social activism in the country. The novel, The God of Small Things, received a lot of popularity and fame within and without India for the reality that the characters and the settings struck in the novel. For a few aspects of the novel was first published in 1997 and it went on to receive the 1997 Man Booker Prize for fiction. The readers might also be able to extract semi-autobiographical elements from the novel. The readers would come across a few snippets of Arundhati Roy's lives through the characters and the setting of the novel. To place the novel within a literary tradition, it is possible to qualify the novel as an Indian novel, a post-colonial novel, and a protest novel. To qualify it as an Indian novel, Arundhati Roy has used the setting in Kerala, a microcosm, a small village in Ayamam in Kottayam district in Kerala, and she has used a plethora of Indian words, specifically Malayalam words, folklore, songs, an Indian culture that abounds with the novel to place it as an Indian novel. To place it as a post-colonial novel, Arundhati Roy uses the English language, appropriates the English language to the tastes of an Indian audience, to a Kerala audience, and she tries to assert the indigenous cultural heritage of India and brings about the strong correlation between India and her native land and environment that was alienated from them through the process of British colonialism. The novel also strikes out as a protest novel, for there are various forms of protests in the novel through the characters and even through the settings. The novel is seen as a protest from the characters of Beluta, from the characters of Ammu, from the character of Rahil and Esther. The elaboration of this will be done further. Arundhati Roy herself has stated that the structure was the most challenging part of writing the book. It begins at the end and ends in the middle. If it had been a straight linear narrative, it would have meant something altogether different. Each ordinary moment becomes more heightened, more poignant, because it is viewed through the complex lens of the past and the present. For readers who have given the first attempt to this particular novel would have found the narrative structure to be extremely challenging and confusing because the novel does not follow a conventional chronology of time, placing events of the past and present in order. Therefore, the narrative structure of the novel follows a non-linear narrative structure. It is a fragmented structure which Roy uses deliberately to also bring in an interconnectedness to the content in the novel. The non-linear narrative structure is supported with the use of two narrative threads that keep alternating through flashbacks and flash forwards and through backstories that can give readers a clarity on what the novelist is trying to project. As mentioned, since there is a fragmented structure in the novel, I have just put down a few events in the novel in chronology for readers to find the storyline. There are two alternating narrative threads. One is the life and time that Amu, Rahel, and Esther shared with each other and the extended family members in IMNM. And the second thread is the reunion between Rahel and Esther. So the events follow a certain chronology. Sophie Moll, who is Margaret Krochama's daughter and Chaco's um, daughter, visits Ayamana from England. Followed by that, another landmark event would be Esther's molestation at the Abhilash Talkies. It moves on to the ensuing secret affair that Ammu shares with Veluta, as a result of which there have been drastic and terrible consequences in the novel, which leads to the death of Sophie Moll, leads to the death of Veluta, and eventually the death of Ammu. Esther and Rahel, as a result of these traumatic events in the novel, are separated. Esther is returned to his father, and Rahel is moving away. The second thread is where Rahel and Esther reunite with each other. And Roy brings in a very controversial aspect to showcase the inseparable bond that Esther and Rahel share through the incestuous sexual union between Esther and Rahel. This follows an order of the chronology of events. However, for readers who have read the novel would find that these events do not follow a sequential pattern. It is possible for readers to be confused to place an event in the past or in the present owing to the alternating narrative threads. As mentioned, there is a very strong correlation or interconnectedness between the non-linear narrative structure and the content of the novel. In fact, Roy herself says that all those that have led to the fragmented structure also speaks for certain effects on the content of the novel, be it through characters, be it through landscape, or be it through the settings in the novel. It is possible for readers to critically analyze the content of the novel in the light of a fragmented narrative structure. In fact, the storyline goes on where Ammu gets married to Baba, a very abusive husband. As a result of this abusive nature of their marriage, she left Baba, divorced Baba. She was left with two children. She came back to her maternal home, which is the Ayyub family in IMNM in Kottayam. However, there was a sense of seclusion and isolation that Ammu and her children faced, owing to the prejudices and the politics in caste and religion in the Indian setting at that point of time. Ammu establishes a secret affair with Veluta, a low-caste Paravan, who's known to be a skilled carpenter and who is a very commonly seen person in the Ayyub family. The relationship is found out, and as a result of which, there are a lot of separations in the family. It leads to the tragic death of Veluta in police custody, and it also leaves behind Ammu in a very isolated state while she is banished from the Aymanam setting, and she dies a miserable death. The result of all these deaths showcases in the life of Esther and Rahel primarily in the novel. On one hand, you have Esther, who is living in a bubble of silence, while you have Rahel, who exemplifies herself as a sea of noise. The characters in the novels do not feel that a lack of there is a lack of stability, or there is no proper stability in their mental framework. As part of noticing the alternative threads of the narrative structure, there are various flashbacks and flash forwards that Arundathi Roy brings in. One example could be where Arundathi Roy describes the molestation of Esther in Abhilash talkies, and it is recounted through Rahel. There are flash forwards where the readers are able to guess, or the readers are able to understand what could happen when the relationship between Ammu and Veluta is exposed. The novel also deals with quite a few backstories, which adds on as extra critical commentary on the part of the writer, and also knowledge gaining for the reader who needs to know why baby Kochama is a disgruntled woman, what makes Veluta isolated in the IMNM setting, and so on. Moving on to the effects. As readers who have read the novel more than once and who have been able to establish the storyline, understand that there is a narrative past and the present, and the past speaks about the present. It is possible for writers and for the readers to establish a dramatic effect through the flash forwards and the flashbacks that Arundhati Roy uses in the novel. She tries to create a dramatic impression in the readers to know more, to guess the right events, to place themselves in the structure of the novel. So as a reader, it is possible for people to sit back and read more and know what happened to Esther, what happened to Veluta. Another effect of the narrative structure, the non-linear narrative structure, is also to place political commentary. Arundhati Roy goes heavily on political criticism, political, social, and religious criticism in the novel. However, by breaking down the chronology of the events, she tries softening the heightened intensity of the effects these political, social, and religious institutions can bring upon the character. She also lends to the readers a rather critical eye to look at things from an open ended perspective and understand the novel within the setting of Kerala. The novel also lends itself in its fragmented structure to expose the trauma of the characters. As readers, it might be possible for us to glean that majority of the characters have a very traumatic life, be it Mamachi, be it Baby Kochama, be it Ammu, be it Veluta, be it Rahel or Esther. The fragmented structure is a reflection of the fragmented mental psyche of the characters in the novels, who strive for an identity placing in the novel, who strive to establish relationships that are non-judgmental, but ultimately it leads to failure. As a result of exposing the trauma of the characters, there is also a very strong critical commentary on the aspect of the judgmental nature of society. through the love laws that Arundhati Roy brings in her novels, in the novel The God of Small Things. One might also be able to understand the judgmental nature of society through the gendered identities in the novel. For readers who are present, who belong to the present time, would want to understand that what was the gendered relationships between a man and a woman uh, in India 50 years back or 40 years back is not as what we see it today. Through the novel, one is able to categorize the female characters as two. One who is loyal to the patriarchal system or who have ingrained the patriarchal system into their lives. And the second group of people are those who stand against or protest the stereotypical notions that the patriarchal society emphasizes for women. If we look at the lives of Mamachi and baby Kochama, these are two characters who have been extremely loyal to the patriarchal systems, extremely obedient to the patriarchal systems, and they have been exploited and they have taken in those exploitations as if they did not have any other go. Mamachi was abused by Papachi. Baby Kochama was not able to expose to the society the relationship that she would like to share with Father Mulligan. On the other hand, you have Ammu and Rahel as characters who protest the judgmental societal nature. Ammu stands out as a protesting figure who walks out of an abusive marriage and comes back to her home in IMO. However, she does not receive a welcome, but she is isolated further because the patriarchal society still dominates. Rahel is almost a miniature version of Ammu. The non-linear narrative structure of the novel leads to a rather remarkable commentary on this dichotomy between I versus the society. Arundhati Roy has very successfully tried to project that resistance of an individual against societal norms through characters. Though there have been consequential deaths in the novel, the readers are able to open their eyes to aspects of protest, to aspects of assertion, and to aspects of claiming one's identity. Thus, the fragmented nature of the society also equates to the fragmented nature of society where human relationships aren't established in a conventional manner.